For another project, I was cleaning out my air compressor. I have a larger air compressor, larger than this. And I was cleaning out the tank because, you know, moisture, rust, crap it just accumulates in there. You need to clean it out every so often. I don't do it nearly often enough. While I was doing that, I decided I want to clean out my small air compressor. And then here's the thing. This has a cord. And it drags, it goes all over the place. You know, the air hose is nice, it's coiled. So I just put on the handle, it stays in place. The cord drags everywhere. I thought it'd be nice if I could wrap that around something or could tie that to something, because you often see, you'll see on things like it'll be something kind of hooked and the cord wraps around the two hooks and it stays in place. That would be perfect. This used to be my primary compressor. I know 2 gallons, not very much, but I didn't do that much with air tools. I mean, a little bit. I do more now, which is why I decided to upgrade, because this thing just wasn't cutting if you tried to do anything. But I was thinking, I need like something, like a wrap for this cord. And I was looking at this thing thinking, you know, can I put something attached to these bolts that's just a hook on each side to allow me to wrap this cord? You know, I mean, you see it. I'm trying to think if I have any scrap or anything like that. I thought, well, I'm a capable person. Why don't I see if I can make something like that? So I looked at this, where I could potentially attach it on the compressor, what kind of metal I had. I mean, it really needs to be metal. It's lightweight, it's small, it's not very bulky. Wood, you're going to have to make something so big that it is too big. It just needs something that would bolt here, come out just enough to kind of hook, like a little hook and loop, just so you can loop that cord all the way around. That'd be really nice. I was thinking about making it retractable, but I know I don't have anything in the retractable neighborhood. Could I create something that's just a hook and loop that would just bolt to these 2 bolts? And I'm going to wrap this cord, because the cord is always dragging, because this is my portable thing. I mean, the hose does well enough. I just hook it onto the handle. That works well enough, but that cord is a problem, and I really love to solve that. Let me look through what I have. So I looked at what I had, and I came up with, I've got this. I think this went to maybe a ceiling fan or a light. I don't really know. But it's already got a hole in it, which might be the right size. I'm thinking I'm going to cut this in half. I like how it extends out. Bend it up. Bend it again to hook so the cord won't fly off the end. And just bolt it on each side. And it'd be nice to tie them together so they wouldn't rotate independently. That might just be too much. Because, I mean, I could do that. But I'm not sure I want to. I'd have to completely redo this thing. Though I may think about that. Because it would be nice to have one big piece. So in case, you know, because if they both rotated in, your cord comes off. If it's all one piece, the cord can never fly off, which is nice. And these could just be my kind of hold-ons. Let me look into that. Let's look at where I'm going to attach it, because luckily this had some mounting points that seem perfect for attaching the cord. So you look, see those 2 bolts towards the bottom? I think that's the perfect mounting point. I think it's just a way for the cover to mount on. I'm just going to use them, mount it on, and then I'll have a place for this cord, because the cord's not very long. But it's always dragging. I mean, I'll kind of like try to wrap it around the handle. It never quite works because it's not coiled like this, so it doesn't stay. Great mod. And I'm always pushing for modify the world around you to make life easier, to make life better. And that's why I love this project. It's going to make this thing, it's the annoyance I have with this thing. If I make this thing, it's going to be gone. No more annoyances other than it's kind of heavy. But that, until I create something that can make mass lighter, I'm just going to have to deal with that. But the cord, that I can fix. First step is just to take these bolts out, get some idea on spacing. I don't need this thing super big, so I think I'm going to make this one big piece instead of cutting it in half. That way, not that it would rotate. You know, the 2 bolts will prevent it from rotating. Whereas if I just have one on each side, potentially the bolts loosen, this thing could rotate, the cord would come off. I have to, you know, figure out a fix to redo it. Don't really want to do that. So one piece is definitely the way to go. These bolts, all these bolts they're just for the cover. They're cast into, I guess, the compressor motor, or at least this side looks like it's cast into the compressor motor. It's just a spot. That's good. Yeah, this one's cast in too. It's just for the cover. Get these things out. Makes a difference. Yeah, these lower bolts, that's just for the motor to bolt to the tank. So, you know, I have this handle on this side. I have this, what is this? Heat sink. Yeah, because the motor creates a lot of heat, so that's the heat sink. So this will go here. I need to bend it up here. And it may end up being too long. I mean, it's pretty long. I'm thinking that these will be, like, it'll come out here. I want it to go straight, back, straight, and then kind of a little L, just that way the cord won't slide off. Alright, let me make some measurements, line up these bolt holes, figure out what size hole to drill into here, kind of figure out some overall dimensions. So I don't know how wide I need this cord. I mean, it's super small. I mean, what is that? Let's see. Figure out how many times I'd wrap it to get an idea of how wide this even needs to be. And maybe that is not very big. My ruler's not even over here. And my tape measure's not over here. I think an inch. I think an inch is plenty, because you could almost stack them right on top of each other, get down to half an inch. We'll shoot for an inch. I may change that as we get going. Look at that, man, if the cord goes there, because I don't need this to snap into it, I can just kind of tuck it. That's fine. That's not something where this thing's not dragging. So I've got an automatic punch. Why? Because you're trying to drill into metal, and you don't punch it first, that drill bit is going to walk. You need to punch it. And this is an automatic punch. It is handy. I mean, I have the ones where you hammer, but this, it's just a little convenience that is quite nice. And this just creates a little divot in the metal, so that when I'm drilling, that drill head, the head of the drill bit, it stays in that divot. It doesn't want to walk. I mean, look at that. Doesn't want to move around, doesn't want to walk. And that's what you want, because otherwise, if you try doing this surface, it's going to go all over the place. You're going to try to like bear on it and hold it really hard to go in the spot, but you're still going to create a mess. And you don't want that, I doubt. So I've got a drill press. I use a vise just because that way it keeps it in place. I don't have to worry about it moving or jumping or twisting. And you know, you can do it where you're just holding it by hand and then all of a sudden it gets caught and it spins around and smacks in the hand. Don't do it. Get a drill press vise, so that way it holds everything in place and you don't have to get smacked around. Now I've got two very clean looking holes. It looks like they line up. It looks like it. I can't quite tell because, you know, I got the heat sink and the handle that are in the way, so I need to bend this to make sure, but eyeballing it looks good. And what you can do, if I didn't get these holes quite right, I can always just use a rasp and move them down a little bit, but I'm thinking I got it right. Let's eyeball it. It looks good. And the reason I put this amount of precision into these things is that when I get done with this, it's going to look factory. And that's my goal with all these projects, is to make it look like it came that way. It's not some hacked together thing. Alright, I'm gonna file down these holes, because when you drill through it, you know, you get a little bit of a rough edge. I'm going to file down that just so it's flat, so when it mates to this plastic, it's good. I mean, yeah, you can say, oh, that gives a little bit of bite. I don't need to have a little bit of bite. And then I need to figure out, size-wise, where am I going to bend this? I'm going to put this in vise. I'm just going to bend it by hand and maybe a little bit of hammering to get it that nice, crisp bend. Well, this thing, I love this project. Let's see, is that the way it needs to go? I want to make sure, like these, I want to use these in the kind of the end caps. So I need to make sure I mount and bend everything the correct way. I think this is it. Maybe not. I don't know. I'm going to think about that. I'm going to have to look at this, sketch it out. Because once I bend it, I think so. Let me file this down. Let me make some measurements on where to bend it, because I want it off the heatsink, obviously. Because I don't want, if I have the cord somewhat wrapped and running, I don't want the cord right next to the heatsink and to melt or get too hot. Handle side doesn't matter. But I don't have much space there, so I'm going to have to keep that tight. When you know it, the bolt doesn't quite fit in here. Like, it's just right there. Such is life. But I've got this little tiny file, and I'm just going to go use this file to file around the hole to make it, like, because it just needs to be a hair bigger. I'm sure you want to check this out, because I mean, me filing this thing, that is exciting business. I would not want you to miss out on that. Probably should have used the next largest drill bit. I did not. Well, we're close. We're closer to fitting it. Before it would barely fit in there. Now it kind of, I don't know what's holding it up. Alright, let's do it again. This is where it gets you where you want to be so precise, and then I have to file these holes. Alright, now the bolt fits in there perfectly. That is what we want. Now I have to figure out exactly how I want to bend this. I'm probably going to go like a ½ inch off the holes and bend up this way. I will look at that and see and take some measurements, but I think that's where we're headed. So here's how I'm doing the math on where I want to bend this. I thought maybe an inch. That just seems, an inch off this hole gets me fairly close to my heatsink. I don't want to do that. So I'm looking at ½ inch. ½ inch looks good. I'm just eyeballing this. This is not a science. And this is my worst side. I know I could go an inch on this side. I could go a ½ inch. I think I'm probably going to keep it the same. I mean, I guess I could go an inch. I've got a lot of metal here that will get wasted. And I drew the holes in the middle, which probably might have been a mistake. But, you know, if I draw them in the middle, I don't have to think about how long this thing needs to be overall. I can just do it step by step. So I'm going to go 1/2 inch on this side, 1 inch on this side. Just, why not? I'm feeling asymmetrical today. I'm just going to put this in the vise and we're going to bend it. You'll see. Don't worry. Alright, let's test fit this thing on here. Because I'd said 1 inch is all the width I need. I'm thinking now longer just because I don't want to cut this, even though I think I'm going to have to cut it no matter what. My holes are off slightly. Probably should have drilled one and then measured and did the other. But I thought, hey, I've measured, my measurements are good. But like, it's off, of course, just a little bit. And you could try to force it, but I don't really want to. I'm putting one screen here. I just want to kind of get an idea of what this looks like, how this cord would wrap around to see how much do I need to cut or make or do. And to do something like that. That is not bad. How many inches is that? That's like just high of 2 inches, which is good. You know, the longer you make this, the more it hangs out, the more it's going to snag on stuff. So I'd like to keep it pretty close to the thing. So I think 2 might be my number. What if I really compress this? Even if I really compressed it, it still kind of wants to be 2. 2 is my number. But I love this. I mean, look at that. That looks like it's almost factory. So my concern is now I'm just like telling myself, don't bend it the wrong way. Because, you know, if I put this in the vise and bend it the other way, one way instead of the way it's supposed to be, I might mess it up. I don't want to do that. I could always bend it back, but you fatigue the metal bending it back and forth. So my preference is to get it right the first time. So I'm trying to be very cognizant of how I put the stuff in the vise, which way it needs to bend so I don't screw it up. Because I've done that before. You need to cut it one side, cut the other side, or bend one side, the other side, and cut the wrong side. And you really don't want to be in that position. Because that means you just got to do something over. Alright, got my marks. Bending out this way. Let's do it. So I had a mark for 3 inches on here, so I need to remember that is not the correct mark. I realized it's 2. That is 2. So this is inexact. If I was trying to get this to sit perfectly level, I may need to like tweak this thing one way or the other. But for this, close enough is good enough, so it's fine. I've had things where I need them to sit level, or sit flat against something, I've had to rebend and tweak a little bit, because, you know, this is inexact, if you couldn't tell. Look at that. You can see exactly what it is. These arms, way too long. They kind of bend down to what, acute angle. I actually like that, because, you know, if they were up, that cord would want to fly off more. This is way too long. I'll trim both of those. I will have to file the ends. That's okay. Because again, if I do it, I want to file it, make it nice and rounded. Because you could do it square, cut it off, not even file it. You're going to snag your skin or your clothes or something. You don't want to do that. And when you round it off, it just like, you put a little bit extra effort and it just makes it a little more finish. When you look at this, these factory ends were rounded. Now there's a little kick in them, but I'm not going to do all that. That's a lot more effort than I'll put into it, and I'm not going to get that effort back. I don't even know if I could bend something that small in my vise. Alright, I'm thinking maybe an inch, maybe 1.5 inches. I'm going to look at that as well. And, you know, actually, I'm going to put the whole thing up on here, see how far the cord goes. I think 1.5 inches will do it. We'll see. Of course, I got to put my screw back in. Why does it not want to go? Oh, I got a little thread of metal in there. Let me get my file again. Testing this on here. It looks like an inch past. It was going to be perfect. And 2 inches, I might could have done smaller, but I don't want to constrict myself too much. I think we cut these things out of 1 inch. I mean, this thing, it's about done. I love these projects that are quick. That is going to make my quality of life when carrying this thing around so much easier. No longer with this cord just dragging around behind me all the time. Because you try to wrap around the handle, it never works. So I did use a cutoff wheel and then a grinder. I did not. It was not. I did not use a cutoff wheel to shape these ends. It was a grinding wheel. Could I have done it by hand with a hacksaw and a file? Yes, I could have. I wanted to get just a kind of a rough cut on this first, and then use a file. Just 'cause it's gonna save me time. And I'm not trying to spend all day on this project, but just rounding the corners, just where it looked a little bit, you know, just kind of nice. Like somebody spent a little bit of time on this, because I did spend a little bit of time on this. So I'm gonna use a file, just get off any burrs, and this thing's about done. So I just want these edges nice, round. I don't want them to catch the cord, to catch me, to catch my clothes. And of course the grinding wheel does make it a little rough. Perfect, that side is looking, feeling right and good and smooth. Sharp. Perfect, perfect, perfect. Now I just need to line up these bolt holes because they're just a little off, just a hair. So I just used my hobby file to make these holes a little bit longer. I needed them both to be kind of longer on the inside. And I let gravity work with me and had it vertically and just went through the hole. Test fit it, it is time. And I mean, this came out really nice. It's gonna look pretty sharp. Which I always like things to look good in factory. Get these screws started. And finally this cord will no longer be an annoyance. Alright, man, that thing looks good. Let's turn it around here. There it is. There's my cord holder on there. I mean, if you were looking at this, you would just think that came from the factory. It did not. Probably should have. And now I've got just a great way to wrap my cord on here, and it's no longer a nuisance. I think I just do the old tuck right in there. Oh. Might need to think about that one a little bit more. Made it pop right off. There we go. Look at that. Cord, no longer an issue. Now here, look at this, you think, oh yeah, came like that. But it did not. I made that. And it makes this tool just that much better. No longer an annoyance. Perfect. And it's plenty solid too, a bonus.